feel like things are justified for you to have a problem running.
Allow them to be social, explain your expectations up front, set goals, and chart the results.
Real fast, and then you can leave the pictures fine. Some people will say, oh, you know, they were talking with each other between shots, and we're focused. Like, no, sometimes, again, it's part of the program to say, what I need you to do is focus when it's your turn up on the approach. When you get into the workspace, that's your workspace. But if you kill the social part, if you kill the fun of playing, you will have, at best, an 80% player. And sometimes they have to be social with you too, obviously, and that's the fun for you. But if it's male style business as usual, say you'll kill the spirit in part of some of the athletes you're working with, from my point of view.
The fun. I am not a fan of the songs in college bowling.
Oh.
There we go.
That is. So, my goodness gracious. We're kind of, first of all, I got to checking our time. We're at time. Anything up here? Any other questions? With permission, we'll field about 3 minutes worth, Rod. Can we? Fred.
Yes. You know, I coach my wife. Bella, this is for you. So I said, honey, you know, if I'm saying something and you don't buy into it, or you think it's not registering or what have you, you got to let me know. So I said, you have to come up with a way to tell me. So I've told a few of the gals that I know real well. She said, okay, I got a way for you. She said, when I put my bitch wings out, she says, you'll know I don't understand.
That was a beautiful and tender thought.
You know what? I remembered it, Doc. I remember it to this day.
Things that stick and will stick now for this group. Thank you very much. If I could, I'm actually going to echo a little something from that, and it goes to Bill's initial question, and that is if you want to unhook the negative energy from any coaching you have, if it's with your husband, if it's with your wife, if it's with your child, if you ask permission before your interventions, you'll take sort of the power imbalance out of it, which is, do you mind if I make this correction? Can I give you a tip? Do I get to act like your coach in this moment? And anything you ask permission for elevates the other person back to an equal status. And if you're dealing with your spouse, you never want the experience of one up, one down, unless you're the one who's one up, but the other one doesn't like that. Anytime you ask for permission, you balance it out again, and it takes the energy out of it, and then there's room to coach, even those you're in a relationship with. Even with your kids, I would say sometimes. Okay. Anything about that? Other questions? Anything else about? Back here and then up here. Yes.
Maybe the question is maybe a little more general, dealing with sports psychology. I'm just curious about the team aspect, the emotional aspect on the lanes. I'm not a very emotional guy as a coach. I'm always confused about what is the level of everyone's high-fiving, everyone's yelling, screaming, they got the chant, they got their songs, related to actually getting up on the lane, bringing your heart rate down, and focusing and executing a shot. And I kind of get confused with the balance of that, of how much of the emotional is good for the team as a team building, and how much of the focusing, relaxing, and making a shot and the execution for it, how they kind of cross over.
Kim, I don't know if you want to talk about this having Coach Bauer.
Yeah, you know, they have to be social, particularly if you're talking about the women. They have to be social, they have to have fun. I do feel like there has to be a shift in some way, and whether it's something that you exercise with your players, that, you know, okay, whoever's up, make sure you take a moment and leave this area to go into the playing area. However, that there is a distinction between this and making the shot that you want to have happen. You know, I agree with you. I think college bowling was the best thing that I ever did in my life. I loved it, and we had fun, and we high-fived, and I screamed, and I yelled, and I sang, and it can be one of the best experiences being on a team, whether it's collegiately or internationally. I think it's done the right way. It is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be an experience that they want to share and bring forward. And if that's not happening, then you have to be willing to make some changes.
Can I just,
Hang on 1 second, if you don't mind. What I would say is this, the training is around the distinction between the behind here and when you're up in your space. And I think what we teach is when it is your time and you get up and you're in your 20-foot glass bubble, that's your time for your breath, your moment, and again, there's sort of optimum levels of arousal for performance. And sometimes in the sort of ecology of the excitement, the team's going off. And then what has to be taught is how do I step from this group and into this space and sort of calm and center. And it's a fun task to learn, but the distinction has to be clear. You don't want to leave this and go up and get your ball because there's so many hamsters on the wheel at that point. And to take a moment, and one of the answers, bottom line and even more, is an unwavering pre-shot routine
yes.
that involves these steps around breath, focus, centering, almost visualizing what it feels like to feel great. And if I were to teach my team anything, it's that we would observe that unwavering routine in each other so that we can notice when it didn't happen, or when it does. Yes?
I'm from Curacao, so there we have the idea that a women's team had to have a coach that was women, and a men's team had to have a men's coach.
Oh, man, okay.
Does it have to be like that, or are we thinking wrong?
I don't think it has to be like that. No.
Given that you coach the men's USA team,
Yeah, I mean, I'm an assistant coach for both programs. It's not just the women's program, not the head coach of the women's program. I am assistant coach for Team USA, whether it be our kids or our adult program. And, it's tricky. I think it's trickier, I think, being a female and trying to coach the men in some cases. Finding ways to make sure that they understand that I'm not their buddy. That there's a distinction, that there has to be a distinction between me being their coach and not just Kim who they played on tour with. And so I have to sort of be different with them. And so I have to be different when I'm with them, and I have to be different when I'm with the women. And it would be the same. It has nothing to do with whether it's male or female. You can do it the right way.
we really could do a whole nother one on coaching men, particularly if you're a woman. I think it's, again, doable, but not business as usual. And that's another talk. Can women coach men? Completely and absolutely. But there's some things you have to be thoughtful about. Because in our culture here, and I don't know Curacao, other than where it is on the map, there are male-female things that people respond to unconsciously and get offended by unconsciously, and the same is true for men and women, obviously. Can men coach women? For sure. But they have to be sensitive, I think, to the things we're talking about. One or two more than we do have to close. I know those are the rules. Yes?
Usually the women's team, what about the internal groupings and a little bit of gossip and jealousy?
That happens?
Yeah, I would say, to speak to that, I feel, we talked about using the slide and not using the slide a little bit last night, but I find oftentimes when we publicly elevate women, they found success and we praise them publicly within the team, very often that makes them unliked. So if you're going to praise your stars, do it one-on-one.
This is very interesting. I don't know if you could all hear that. What Kim was saying, in a team environment, if you're going to single out a woman player, female player for praise, you do that privately. With men, you can flush it up and out. So-and-so threw it overhand and it worked. That was awesome. With women, you can set them up to be scapegoated. And in terms of drama and teams, again, that would be a different team play lecture. I feel like we could talk a lot about it, but we'd be talking a lot about it. And when we work with college teams, it's a lot of what we on the hook from, so that people play and they're not playing against each other. I'm sorry to not be able to elaborate more. It would be a lot.
If they don't care that the person in front of them is striking, you're in trouble. They don't have to all like each other, but they have to respect each other, and they have to have a common goal.
Usually it happens, you know, two of them are friends, two of them are friends. They get groupings in the team, so you try to, you know, break them as a team. But at some point, any negative thing happens, they go to their own side. So
What I would say is this, and then again, shortcutting it, pretending it's not happening never works. Acknowledging what is happening, you know, naming things is the beginning of unhooking them. Because everybody always knows the truth anyway. They all know it. Different seminar to go much further with that. There was one more question, then we have to close.
Just this one. Given all of this stuff that we have to be concerned about with girls, with women,
Yes.
you know, all the emotional stuff and whatever, should we then expect that their learning is not going to be as fast as it would be with a guy? Because we have to be concerned about overloading them with information, you know, you can see it on your faces. I know, I'm not going to point out somebody, but when I get to a point where it's too much for me, he can't see that.
Yeah.
Until I go,
The issue is, let me say, for a start, Donald Armstead is going to go in deep. I'm trying to mention who that is. Donald's are being referenced to him at all. What we're saying, actually, as you know, one thing, you were talking about this last night, I think. If it wasn't a longer process, it almost wouldn't be worth it in any sporting endeavor. But this stuff will actually allow you to go at light speed compared to how it would be if you weren't doing it. And I think you can expect very rapid change when the conditions are ideal, and glacial change when they're not. And that's the distinction. Anything in closing?
They will work harder for you if they believe that you care what's happening to them. Just get them to connect, and they will jump over rivers to do what you want them to do. But they have to believe that you care.
That said, we're going to pull to a close. We'll be around for questions throughout the weekend, but I want to thank you so much for participation. And
okay, we're going to have to divide you up into two groups. This table back. We will do with this group over here. From here forward, you guys are going to be in a group. You guys will be A. You guys are going to be group B. Can you remember that? What group? B. Oh, very good. Very good. Thank you. What we're going to